if you just hit continue, I know you set up a little bit of a garden ahead of time just so we can get straight into it and not spoil the kind of beginning few days for people.
Yeah. So it's basically skipping the tutorial now, and I'm on day 10, and this is my little garden that I've prepared for you. Yeah. Oh, let's see a letter.
I'm just waiting for the stream to catch up so I can see it. Okay, so do you want to kind of walk us through the sort of I guess the interface? It looks, it presents itself almost like a Zoo Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon type management game. It's not a farming game like Stardew Valley. You don't have like an avatar, do you, that's walking around?
Yep. Yeah, it's I would sort of compare it to maybe like Viva Pinata if you play that game, in that you have lots of, you have stuff in the garden, you have little animals walking around, and you want to attract new animals, and there's also some nefarious ones that you have to look out for. So that's sort of one aspect, and then like you said, it's the management. It's not like super heavy management. It's not like a, what are they called, like settlement survival game. It's more chilled, relaxed. You build your garden, and you don't have to stress too much about things getting ruined or such, and you just
we've been talking a lot about it's almost like a city builder, but obviously a garden builder. So it's kind of, if you've played sort of City Skylines, SimCity, there are elements there kind of, but it's very light on all of those fronts, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you want to kind of just give an example of, like, I guess just walk through what you're doing? When you're digging, when you're placing plants, kind of explain the sort of systems that you are actually using.
So you start, you basically start the game with nothing. So it's like this, a bit ugly and yellowy. And then basically what you do is you dig, you change the surface type of the land. So for instance, like this. So now I want some grass here. And then you place items. So have, let's say, a plantain lily. Whoop. And that's the core of the game loop. It's really that simple. Now, the items cost money, as you can see up top. You have the money resources and stuff. So you have to still think of. There's some resource management in it, but in its core, it's change the surface type to some kind of biome, place plants that work in that biome, and attract animals that basically thrive with those plants. So for instance, to have a goldfish show up, you have to have some water and some vegetation for it to nibble on.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, so you have to actually make environments. You're not placing you're not saying a fish is going to live in this pond. You have to set it up and then attract a fish to said pond and make sure its needs are met, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So you control the environment, but living things it's sort of its own thing, and you just have to try your best shaping it to create habitats for different animals. But they are basically, they are their own thing. And here you can see red. Yeah,
I can see you've got the guide open there. Sorry, I'm watching you play it live with everyone, so there's a bit of a delay for me. So but I can see that you're on the journal with the kind of animal details. Do you want to just walk through kind of some of the things unlocked and like the information presented there?
Yeah, exactly. So what I talked about earlier was the fish needs some water and some stuff to nibble on. So here you can see in the, I don't know do you see my mouse cursor? Otherwise I might have to toggle it on.
We do, yeah.
Perfect. So here you see it needs foliage, some shading, and some water. And you don't really know exactly in which quantities or things like that. So you have to do some figuring out yourself. But for instance, if I press the goldfish, I start tracking it, and I can see down here the requirements that it needs or has. I can even use, I mean, now we're getting advanced, an overlay to see which different habitats have formed already. So you can see that I have some bumblebees and some goldfishes. And note that some of these are okay. Day is over, so that's another mechanic, right? So the day has a set number of hours, and in the end of each day, you get a little report of how much you made in the end of the day. There's some weather effects and such, but it's quite simple. And then it moves on to the next day, and you might get a new weather. There might be new letters and tasks showing up. So it's sort of like there's a cycle, right? You begin the day, you do your things, and then in the end of the day, you get a report, and a new day begins with new, new things happening.
Yeah, and it's not. Some of the comparisons I've seen when we've been posting stuff on TikTok and Twitter is kind of, obviously comparisons get made to Stardew Valley. I think primarily because it's pixel art and it's about gardens and farm and plant life, but you're not that report at the end of the day. You're not making produce to sell. That money is kind of brought in. There's a bit of a story there, isn't there, about the gnomes?
Yeah.
They generate gold based on like how attractive your garden is,
Yeah.
the variety and stuff there. And that might be a good time to talk about the story and the gnomes side of things. If you...
Yeah, so we skipped the intro, right, to save you some time, basically, because there's a tutorial and such. But basically, you're transported by gnomes. I mean, you the player, is transported by gnomes, and you sort of wake up in this spacey star field, and they give a brief explanation telling you that they have summoned you and they need help, and their world has collapsed because their previous gardener mysteriously disappeared. And then you say yes, of course, to their calling. And then you're basically just thrust into a desert or deserted environment. And
I've
that's
always wondered with that thing, like when it says like, "Do you accept like the call?" What happens? I've never actually clicked no. What happens?
I will.
No?
If you want to know, you should play the demo and press no yourself.
I'll after this, I'll boot it up and see.
Yeah.
And you can see the gnomes kind of walking around, can't you? Yeah. So they're actually there in the world with you.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the initial ones. They don't really help you out, but when you progress in the game, you get additional ones with houses that you can plonk down so that they have somewhere to live, and then they sort of walk around the garden and help out with tending to the plants and such. I mean, we haven't really talked about decay or anything yet, but so there are some.
Do you want to go on to that then? Because it's not. You mentioned it's quite like a light sort of friendly, approachable game, but it's not just that base level of just nice, and you're building these little dioramas. Like we've already touched on there is a story, and then there's an antagonist of your Nemesis who sends you letters, and then you mentioned there decay, which is I guess is the primary thing you're fighting against.
Speaking of,
some.
I'm getting some. I didn't script it.
Okay. Do you want to? Well, just lead straight into it. Do you want to walk through what that is then?
Yeah. So I will show you the decay in a second, but you get a lot of in the game. You get correspondence via letters, like this, and there's a tutorial. And in this one, it basically says, "Oh, you have decay in the garden. Please, please tend to it. It's what happened when our previous gardener disappeared." So to deal with it yourself, you basically have the magic tool. There are other ways as well, but for your end, it's the magic. So here we have, it basically comes in a few different levels. There's a free one, which doesn't consume any resources, so that's perfect for now because I'm early in the story. And that should complete our quest. But yeah, so the decay sort of it shows up from both weather and wind, but also I don't think we will see them now probably, but there are some nefarious antagonistic elements as well. So there's the decay, but also the corruption and the Nemesis. So at some point they send minions to cause decay in your garden, and then you have to deal with that, like with your magic or through helpers in your garden.
Yeah, so you touched on it earlier about gnomes. You get other gnomes that have kind of abilities to help manage that, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
not like
exactly.
an all-out warfare. It's not like an RTS kind of
No,
battling, is it?
in
But
general
it's
it
just
is.
like
I mean, in general
just a
it
nice
isn't,
line.
but there are, yeah. It's not like an RTS, but there will be moments in time where you have these helpers are helping you to defeat maybe these corrupted elements, but your day-to-day sort of gameplay is quite wholesome still. So it's there to serve you antagonism and give you some kind of reason to tend to the garden as well.
Yeah. Is it so you've mentioned there being weather effects. Is there kind of like disasters that can happen and cause more damage or like bigger damage?
Yeah, so you have for instance, if there's a thunderstorm, there's the lightning strikes. Oh, I promise I didn't script that.
You don't have a lightning button.
No, well, but I didn't use it.
Yeah.
So wherever that hits, what do you say? Wherever that strikes, it causes some decay in that area. And if there's an unlucky animal, it might get a bit upset. And then there's also the earthquakes that happen now and then. It's not as bad as it sounds, but you know, it's sort of like antagonistic elements to at least keep track of.
Okay. Yeah. So the kind of the day to day is just managing your garden. Is there how I mentioned earlier about when you gain gold, there's the kind of variety and stuff. Is there any information in the game that presents like your garden score, or how how do you track how good your garden is, so you kind of know the things to improve on or to sort of focus on?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few different ways. I mean, the quickest one is sort of maybe this. What I'm showing you now is it's the garden love indicator, and that's basically a measurement of how varied and hospitable your garden is. It's also a bigger garden also gives more as well. So that's sort of the direct measurement. But then there's, of course, you could talk about completion. So then I have completion tracking, quests and upgrades and stuff. And then there's Hortic Day, I call it. It's basically like a competition, maybe. It's every couple of weeks in the game you get measured on how well you're doing, and there's prizes and there's special tasks that you can do to prepare for it. Expand as many times as you can, and if you get enough perform enough expansions, you get a good score, and then you might unlock some kind of expensive item that you didn't have before, or get some money, or things like that.
We've had our first question in the chat from someone called Frulio.
Yep.
They've said, what were some previous art styles that you explored before settling on the isometric one? And I guess added to that, like, did you know straight away that you wanted to do this kind of art style?
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, that's really interesting. I actually started with isometric because I want to give. I mean, I knew it was going to be in 2 dimensions, so 2D, but I wanted this 3D kind of effect, like old school 2D, Transport Tycoon and things like that. But the art style itself, it's really evolved a lot. I'm not going to show it. Maybe I'll show it when the game's released, but there are, the older art styles are way simpler. I thought, I've evolved the palette. Yeah, palette, yeah. To have more colors and more contrast and different combinations of shading and stuff that I didn't have before. So I would say it was simpler looking before. I thought, let's keep it simple. But then I experimented with different lighting techniques and stuff. And in the end, I ended up at this, where, I think it's quite pretty. You have this green light shading the lilies, and there's sort of some depth to it, but it's still pixel art.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's been like a growing journey. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if I think I mentioned this kind of in the intro, but you're working on this alone, aren't you? You don't have there's no artist. So we've put on the stream that you're developer, but you're also artist as well, and kind of all the other. You wear many hats. So do you come to this as a like from a program background or an art background, or have you been learning how to program along with making this, or vice versa? Have you been learning how to make pixel art as you've gone along?
Definitely the programming background. Originally, I have a master's in software engineering, and at that point I thought, I would be a developer, like coding stuff. That's going to be my vocation. I actually switched career track at some point into management or leadership, and I find it really fun. But as I said in the beginning, I want to make a game that I'm proud of again. So during COVID, I jumped on the opportunity. But as to art, no. Everything has been, as I said before, it's been looking different, this game, during its different stages. And now I'm quite happy, but I've had to learn a lot so far. And I bet there's way more to learn as well in the art department. For sure.
I think it should, you should be applauded for it, because it does look really nice. And that Frulio, who asked the question, said the art is great.
Yay.
They're really happy with where it's at. And you also did the key art for the game, didn't you? So the banner and stuff in the image, that's all
I can
done
tell
by
you.
yourself.
Yeah, I can tell you some about that. I have, let's see. It wasn't set to be my key art in the beginning, but I struggled a bit with conceptualizing it and planning for it. So in the end, I thought, okay, let's try and see how it is. So I borrowed this. I don't know if you see this. What is it called? Like pad thing.
Graphics tablet.
Yeah, tablet from my sister.
Yeah.
And I sort of started scribbling, because I had an idea in my head of how I wanted the key art to feel like, at least. And so I thought, okay, I'm giving it a week. And then if this looks horrible, I will look elsewhere. Here we are. So I guess you
didn't have to go elsewhere.
Yeah, I guess. It was so fun. I didn't know how fun it was to draw with a tablet. So yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, I think it's it's really good, and we've had good comments about it on social media and stuff. Been another question from someone called Spyro. Do you have any plans for this game to be able to be speedrun? Is there do you think it's possible to speedrun it?
Oddly, I have thought about it, because I enjoy watching speedrun, streams, GDQ, and what's the European one? ESA.
I'm not too sure. Okay.
Yeah. Anyhow. So I really enjoy watching that. So I have been thinking, how could you speedrun this game? And, I've been playing the tutorial so many times in that I test the game that I'm quite quick at doing stuff. So I was thinking, at least, have because there is a story and there's going to be there's an end in the game. Although you can play for as long as you want, there's a end to the story. Then I thought, okay, at least have a in-game timer to to help you, or
Yeah,
like so that you know at least how long it took. I don't know. I don't know what else you would need to support. You can
I suppose
speedrun it, of course, but
yeah,
it's
I
a
guess
chill game as well.
there's a bit of a soft lock there. You can't skip to the next day manually. You have to wait until the end of the day. But
Yeah,
I guess you could set yourself up in a way that you can get to the end a bit quicker.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I realize I'm talking and I'm not managing my garden, and I think
It's falling apart.
that was an earthquake as well. Yeah,
Do you have any? So
we will
you
get.
mentioned the glove. Do you have any nectar to
I
use the
don't, because
magic?
yeah, that's the thing. Oh, I have 2 nectar, but I haven't unlocked that level. I mean, that could lead us to the upgrade screen. So I like
Yeah,
progression in
was
games and upgrades and persistent improvements. So I thought, okay, I need upgrades in this game. It was one of the first features. So you have a lot of different ones, and the one we talked about was, let's see if I have it. Yeah, that one. So you basically, yeah, you get better levels of magic, and in order to make an upgrade, level up the skill, basically, you need a certain amount of animals of specific animal type. So this one needs 3 dragonflies in your garden and a sum of gold. So for instance, this one I have 2 goldfish. I need 1, and I need 75 gold. So I'm upgrading it, and now the treasure I find when I dig is higher than before. Magic.
And I see there's some
I'll go. Sorry.
empty squares in that grid.
Yeah.
Do you have plans then for early access, like for the 1.0 one? But when we release into early access, will there be more talents or skills to upgrade?
So actually these slots are there, but they're just not unlocked yet. So there are, how do you say it, parts in the story where you unlock new upgrades as well. So I've just not unlocked these, and I don't remember what they are. I think one might be extra damage or something like that. So they are not just holes; they're going to contain stuff. And and then we will see. I mean, the sky is the limit, really. It needs to be balanced in the end. So maybe not unlimited upgrades, but I like upgrades. We will see. There's more room on the screen, as you can see, for upgrades.
Yeah.
Put it like
Okay, so that we've mentioned that your key currency throughout all of the game's gold, and that's how you upgrade. You spend it to upgrade. You can spend it to expand your garden as well, can't you?
Yep. Do you want me to show you?
Yeah, I don't know if you're at a position where you can buy a new plot of land. But...
Yeah, it should be fine. I've basically just been skipping days, so I think I have a bank account. Yeah. I'm just trying to get to the keepers, because they're so cute. Just one more. I know that you get the quest to... Okay, let's expand first. So you basically just zoom out to an overview of your garden. And then here's... I don't know what to... The way I think of it is like more like the management overview thingy. So here you can see different plots. You can sell one again if you're... Oops, lightning. And here you also expand. So, for instance... Oh, no. Story element. What? Should we skip it, do you think? Or should we...
Yeah, I'd like any story stuff, just leave the story for people to experience themselves.
Yep.
While we're skipping through that, we've had another question from Frulio. How did you come up with the sound design for the game? I think you mentioned is it a friend that does the music for the game?
Yeah, it's my sister actually. So she has done all of the music and some of the sound effects as well. For instance, the sound when you start a new day. If it sounds music, like based on music, it's her. So that's already basics. Or otherwise, my thinking around sound is, or the whole game is immersion. So anything that immerses you in this little diorama world. That's my inspiration. So I don't think you will be able to hear it in the stream, but there are things like rustling in the wind rustling different plants, and it has directional audio as well. It's super subtle, but I basically just tried to evoke as much immersion as possible in a 2D isometric pixel art game. So that's been my measuring thing.
Yes, it's. I can see you placing down a load of new grass tiles there. So with the world we showed, obviously you can zoom out and buy new plots. Is it infinite? Can you keep going? Like how big can your garden get?
About 5, 6. No. Well, I'm zooming around it. So this is in the current build. How much you can expand to? It's quite big. You don't expand that often, so it's definitely quite big. I've never in my play sessions never bought all of it. No, there's so much, because I want you to zoom down and get close to your garden and little animals. So it's quite a lot of, I don't know, gameplay happening where you are. So it takes a bit of time before you. It's not like SimCity or City Skylines or something where you sort of drag out a big plot of what do you call it, zoning. But you have to
you're
actually
placing each individual thing, aren't you?
Yeah, so that sort of makes gameplay a bit slower, but also more. I hope that you get more connected with the animals and the plants and everything. So that's why it's a bit. Yeah, it takes a while to to get all of it. But now I have.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Yes, I have the keepers. I'm so happy.
Okay.
It's
Do you want
time.
to show off the keepers?
Yes. So I mean, we have the gnomes already, but they're not very helpful. I don't know why. But the keepers are. I mean, you will see. So all you need is plonk down a house, a little keeper house. Maybe we should give it a run me. Maybe some grass. And at some point, there will be, I don't think we talked about it, but at some point these curious animals or things show up and then they need a home. And I will show it now with a keeper. So you can probably see there's a keeper habitat in that house. Now you can go on. Sorry. Whatever you were saying.
I can't remember. Your enthusiasm for the keepers.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the key art. It's sort of like it's the frogs in the game. It's the bumblebees and it's the keepers that are the big. I don't know. For me, they're quite. Yeah, they've been around for so long, and I don't know. I'm highly attached to them at least.
So one thing that I wanted to pick up again from before when we were talking about the gold that you can spend gold is there's a obviously when you go into your like plant placing tool or your building your like ground tile placement tool, so there's only a few options there, but you can unlock more as you go, and the shop is one of the ways to do that, isn't it?
Yeah. So kaboom! Say hello to Mercury. It's basically I'll let you figure out what Mercury is, but it's basically a shop. So every week it gets new wares. You can also plonk some money into it to refresh it the next day. And it's sort of like, I mean, the way I imagined it was sort of like the shop in Stardew Valley, actually. Where in Stardew Valley, I think it's seasonal maybe or something. And this is every week you have a different set of stuff. So every time you play, you sort of get a different experience. I mean, not hugely different, but this time I got the yellow bigger moonshine plant, which is a special species of yarrow. A curious keeper has shown up. All right.
And you can also buy new details about different animals and critters, can't you? So
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you want a specific, like if you see that you need a dragonfly to
Mm-hmm.
unlock a certain skill, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to get a dragonfly in there, you can buy the dragonfly card, and it goes
Yeah.
into your journal.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um,
Boom. So now I received the dragonfly details, and then we can check it out. And we see that for a dragonfly, we would need some tall items, some foliage, some basking, because it likes to sunbathe, and some water. Track it.
have you based these kind of things on kind of the real world? Like, have you done sort of some like research? Is it grounded in our world that's the things that a dragonfly likes?
I would say yes, especially the gnomes.
Yeah, I mean they're really real, yeah. Um,
No, but
even
yeah,
though,
for sure. So I mean, I'm taking some creative liberty to make gameplay more fun. But it's
yeah,
definitely for every creature I'm researching. You know, what would thematically work with this one. So I'm so slow talking. I'm going to place this keeper in a home now. Now it lives here, and it will start helping us with decay. Because now I also have a corrupted in my garden.
okay. Let's. I'll stop distracting you.
Yes.
You just play a little bit. Kind of explain what you're doing, and then we
Yeah.
can. We'll go from there.
Yeah. So in the demo, it's actually it's slightly fast forwarded. They show up a bit later in the full game. But so these are the corrupted keepers. So they're basically, I mean, I'm not going to spoil it completely, but they are serving your Nemesis. And so they show up now and then to wreak havoc in your garden. I think I talked about them earlier. So here's one. It's really tricky to catch them when you're not paying attention and gathering your nectar. But I will manage this. You can also you can do this. Oh wait.
So that you mentioned earlier about one of the skills gives you extra damage, for example.
Yeah.
So we had a comment, we had a question about so you can fight enemies in the game because of the extra damage, but it's not fighting, is it? Is the extra damage? It's when you're using your magic on the
Correct.
On the,
so yeah. So the magic is basically the way I thought about it is the magic is your way to interact with the world, more than placing stuff. So that's, damage, it's healing, it's if you have a sad creature or a sick creature, that's making sure it turns healthy again. So that's sort of your go-to method to do stuff. Was that the question?
How? Yeah, I think that.
I don't remember.
We've had another question again from Frulio. Will the game have rare events and hidden secrets to discover?
I mean, that's also my one thing that I really like is to have these little secrets. So definitely, it's yes.
Okay,
For sure.
Yeah. You don't want to spoil. Yeah,
it's a
let's not
secret.
spoil anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hidden secret, so we're not gonna tell. I mean, I think we've kind of covered all the key points. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to cover?
There's probably. I mean, this is the core gameplay is there. Dig the ground, place the items, get money, upgrades, animals. I haven't unlocked the nectar store yet. That would have been good for this presentation because I could have bought some moon nectar, but I think overall it's the current demo experience. I mean, the game is not finished. There's more to come, both content-wise and some neat features that I want to get into the game before it's released. But for this demo, this felt like a good enough representation of, this is what the game will be like, and then we will see what it is like in the future.
Yeah, so the demo is out now. We've launched that, and that's ready for you to play. It's been about 2 to 3 hours worth of gameplay, isn't it? The demo so far, from what people have kind of
Yeah,
when we've given it out to people, they seem to get about 2 to 3 hours of playtime out of it, which is quite good for a demo.
yeah.
How I guess we'll just end on this. How is how have you limited the demo? Like, what was your philosophy to limit the demo based on like versus the full game? If you held back some items, is there stuff that you've removed from early on?
Yeah, so my thinking was basically, I mean, show off everything in a way that you can get, I mean, the full picture of, as I said, the core mechanics and stuff. So that was the main point. And then basically, you know, since the game is about being creative, you need some room to be creative. So it's basically just be fair, give a decent amount of content to explore and see what it's like. And then from that point, I basically set you know, this is a good ending to the demo experience. You get a little pop-up that says, okay, this is the end of the demo. There's no new missions or quests or whatever. And then I just worked my way back from there. So I removed certain quest lines that weren't really needed. It would have padded it more, maybe, you know, with half an hour or an hour or so, but they weren't needed to give you the full experience, and I'm not sure you would have enjoyed it more for it either. So I sort of slimmed it so that you get a good vertical slice, so to speak.
No,
and then all associated items and creatures that are unlocked via these quests are there. So and everything that's not unlocked anymore because the quests aren't there are stripped. But it's quite a lot. I think it's... Did I say this more? I should really pay attention, but let's go to a menu. I think it's something like 70 items, right? I think it's 68, 70 or so. And that includes maybe stuff that you cannot buy, like the little council cottage. But it's, it's a lot. That's the feedback, at least, I've been getting, is it's a generous demo, and I think you will.
Yeah,
I think that's the experience. Yeah,
because it's got that kind of one more day kind of loop, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So you can when the demo ends and you get that pop up, do you have to leave, or can you just carry on tending the garden that you've built?
You can carry on as long as you like. I think so. So the game it's naturally balanced that you can probably not buy everything because there are some upkeep and stuff, and the plants that you have in the start, they are not as lucrative as the ones that you get later on. So there will be sort of like a natural limiting anyways to your gameplay, but play as long as you like, share your creations, give feedback. I mean, I'm definitely open to feedback on your experience. If there's a crash, let me know. Things like that.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good. We'll just end. Yeah, good place to sort of end on that. Yeah, the demo is released. There is a Discord community there as well. You can get to that from the Steam page. If you scroll down on the Steam page, there's a little link on the right-hand side to the Discord. So yes, come by, share your garden creations, share your bugs. You Robert, you're in there. I'll be there. If there's any further questions, you can ask away. But yeah, I think that's everything then.
Cool. And if you didn't,
thanks for watching.
Wishlist.
Oh yeah, obviously. Play the demo and then wishlist. That really helps us. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks.
I'm happy for you to end it there, Robert.
Right.